Good afternoon to my favorite sixth graders. Today we're looking at 5.2, adding and subtracting decimals. The first thing you need to do is go to the table of contents and on the next line write adding 5.2, adding and subtracting decimals, and it's going to be page 21 and 22. So you put all that in the table of contents, then come back to the next open space in your book and number 21 and 22. And then on page 21, if you could divide that into 6 boxes, that is how many you'll need for today. The upper boxes will need a little bit more space than the bottom ones. So just keep that in mind. Not too much more, so it's okay if you want to just do them evenly. So do that and then turn the tape back on. All right. So for box number 1, we're going to focus on adding decimals. And so adding decimals is very similar to adding whole numbers. The only thing you need to remember when adding decimals, and I want you to write this down so you don't forget, is you need to align them by place value. Or, in simpler terms, just line up the decimal points. Okay, but the formal math term would be aligning by place value. So you have the ones over the ones and the tens over the tens and so on. Okay, so just make sure that you line up the decimal points, and then you just add like a regular whole number. So let's do a sample first. Susan rode 3.12 miles, or 3 12/100ths mile on Monday, and then rode 4, sorry, that's a little messy. Sorry about that. She rode 4.7 miles on Tuesday. How far did she ride in all? Okay, so first we're going to take, it doesn't matter which one goes on top because we're adding, so we're going to take 3.12 and we're going to align the decimals. So I'm going to put my decimal point there already. And I have a 4 to the left of the decimal and a 7 to the right. And what I like to do is you can just add a 0. You don't have to do it in a different color if you don't want, but add a 0 as a placeholder. It just makes your mind work a little more smoothly if there's numbers in each row. Okay, so 2 plus 0 is 2. This is 8. We bring down the decimal. 3 plus 4 is 7. And so she rode 7.82 miles. Okay, do not forget to label. Okay, sorry, my page is a little shady. Okay, so moving on to box number 2. All right, we're going to go right into subtracting decimals, which again is very similar to subtracting whole numbers. Step 1 is to align the decimal points. Step 2, add zeros as placeholders when necessary, and then step 3 is subtract. Okay, so let's look at this word problem as an example. Mia is 160 and 2/10 centimeters tall. Rosa is 165 and 1/10 centimeters tall. How much taller is Rosa? So, step 1, align the decimal points. So we're going to do 160.2 and 165.1. Okay. The next step, I needed more space in here, didn't I? Add zeros when necessary. Well, we don't have any zeros we need to add, so we're just going to go ahead and subtract. So let me bring it down here. 160.2. Oh, wait, I can't write it that way because 160 is not larger than 165. So we need to, don't forget to put the larger number on top. 165.1 minus 160.2. And here you're just going to subtract as normal. If you need to regroup, you're going to have to regroup. So we will regroup this 5 into a 4, so that becomes 11. So we have 9, bring down the decimal point, 4 minus 0 is 4, and then the rest are zeros. And so we have 4.9 centimeters. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, for box number 3, we're just going to do another sample. It's subtracting decimals again. We're going to do step 1, 2, 3, just like we did on the other two examples. So Matthew throws a discus 58.7 meters. Zachary throws it 56.12 meters. How much farther did Matthew throw the discus? Okay, so let's start by aligning the decimal point. So let's choose which number goes on top this time first. So the larger number is 58.7, so we're going to put that on top. 58.7. Sorry, my stylus isn't working there. There we go. Minus 56.12. This is a 7. Okay, so we need a 0 here over the 2, so I'm going to add a 0. Like I said, I just added it in red so you could see. Okay, so that's actually, well, I should have put that down here, but that's all right. That's step number 2. And then step number 3 would be to subtract. So let's do 58.70 minus 56.12. And we're going to regroup when necessary. So we're going to have to regroup here. This will become an 8. This will become a 5. Bring down the decimal. Before I forget, as you're passing it and you're going left to right, make sure you bring down that decimal. And then this is 2, and 5 minus 5 is nothing. So we have 2.58, and what are we going to label it? Meters. Okay? All right. Let's move to our next. We are moving right along. Let's move to our next one. Okay, so we're just going to do some examples, just like we've been doing. If you want, you can work this one out yourself and then turn the tape back on to see if you did it correctly. All right, I'm going to line up my decimals. 0.42, and I have 0.27. This does not look like a 2. There we go. Okay, we're adding those together. That is 9. This is 6. And a 0, 0.69. Okay. All right. Example number 2 coming up. Okay, example number 2 is a subtraction problem. So let's line up the decimals first. They gave them to us in the correct order. So 9.73 minus 7.16, and we're going to have to regroup. So that'll become a 6. This is 13. So 13 minus 7, 6 is 7. 6 minus 1 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. Okay, 257. Okay, for our last example, we're going to do a word problem. Again, if you want to turn off the tape, do it on your own, just to see if you're on the right track, which I'm sure you are, and then turn it back on and see if you did it correctly. That would be great. A really good practice for you. Okay, Perry connects a blue garden hose and a green garden hose to make one long hose. The blue hose is 16.5 feet. The green hose is 14.75 feet. How long is the combined hose? Okay, so first thing we need to do is align the decimals. So we're going to add them together. So we're going to do 16.5 is the blue hose, and the green hose is 14.75, and it says how long is the combined. So we know we're going to be adding. We're going to combine. Okay, and I can fill in an extra 0 here just to hold my place, just so my brain can add easily. Okay, and so that would be 5. This would be 12. This would be 11. This would be 3. Oops, I forgot to bring down the decimal till the very end. So please make sure you do that in the beginning. Okay, 31.25 feet. And that is the end of your video. Super quick and easy today, guys.